Assalamu alaikum. Welcome to our NIBS home school. My dear students, hope you are all well by the grace of Almighty Allah. I am Sanjida. Today I am taking a science biology class for the student of class 9, and our today's class topic is chapter 2 reading done. We will read this chapter, our lecture number 5. My dear students, let's start our class. Our chapter number is chapter 2, cell and tissue of organism. In our previous class, we discussed the cell organelles like mitochondria, Golgi body, lysosome, endoplasmic reticulum, and the cell organelles which are situated in the plant and animal cell. And in our today's class, we also discuss tissue, different types of tissue, plant tissue and animal tissue. So what is tissue? Cell is the structural and functional unit of organism. The function of unicellular and multicellular organism are performed in different ways. From the first day of the advent of the world's primitive animal, protozoa perform all its activities such as digestion, growth, reproduction in a single cell till today, while the multicellular organism has different organs for different metabolic activities. Now, plant tissue. An ensemble of similar or different types of cells with the same origin and performing a specific function is called tissue. So, what is tissue? Tissue means the ensemble of similar or different types of cells with the same origin and performing a specific function. It is called tissue. Plant tissues are of two types, meristematic tissue and permanent tissue. The cells of meristematic tissues are capable of cell division, but the cells of permanent tissues are not. Tissue can be grouped into three types: simple tissue, complex tissue, and excretory tissue. Now we discuss simple tissue. The permanent tissue, which contains cells of the same shape, size, and structure, it is called simple tissue. On the basis of the nature of the cell, simple tissues are divided into two types: parenchyma tissue and sclerenchyma tissue. In three types: parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. Now we will discuss parenchyma, collenchyma, and sclerenchyma. What are the parenchyma tissue? Parenchyma cells are seen in almost every part of a plant. Cells of this type are living, isodiametric, thin-walled, and turgid with protoplasm. Intercellular space is found in parenchyma cells. The cells are thin-walled and the walls are composed of cellulose. Cellulose is a biochemical thing. When chloroplasts are present in this type of cells, they are called chlorenchyma. When chloroplasts are present in the parenchyma cell, they are called chlorenchyma. The parenchyma cells with air-filled space are called arenchyma and are usually big in size and found in aquatic plants. When the parenchyma cells have air space, it is called arenchyma. You can see the figure of the parenchyma cell. Their cell wall is very thin. They have cytoplasm and nucleus is situated in the middle of the cell, and they also have intercellular space. Now, collenchyma. Collenchyma tissues are a special type of parenchyma cell. The wall of these cells become thick and the compilation of cellulose and protein. These walls are irregular thickened with thicker corners. The cells are elongated, filled with protoplasm. Intercellular space may be present. Their main functions are to produce food and provide the plant with mechanical support and rigidity. We can find this type of tissues in veins and petioles of the leaves, and this kind of tissue providing rigidity to the young and supplies stems. Now, sclerenchyma tissue. Tissue composed of cells with thickening of walls with lignin for providing mechanical support is sclerenchyma tissue. You can see here lignin is stored in the wall of the parenchyma cell, and it is called sclerenchyma. You can see the picture of a sclerenchyma cell in here. Now, The main function of the sclerenchyma tissues are to provide mechanical support and rigidity and to conduct water and minerals. There are two types of sclerenchyma cells, fibrous and scleroids. Now, number 1, fibrous. They are elongated, slender, thick-walled, and both their ends are pointed or sometimes rounded. In their walls, they have pores like pits. Based on their origin and structure, they are called by different names such as bast fiber, surface fiber, xylem fiber, or wood fiber. So, fiber tissues another name is bast fiber, surface fiber, xylem fiber, and wooden fiber. Now, scleroid. Because of their hardness, they are called stone cells. These cells are very hard, that is why we call them stone cell. What is the another name of the scleroid cell? Its another name is stone cell. Now, compared with the most fibers, these cells are shorter, isodiametric, or sometimes long and star-shaped. Their secondary cell walls are durable, thick, and lignified. Mature scleroid cells are usually dead. The wall of the cells are pitted. In the petioles of the leaves, they may be present in the cluster form associated with the epidermis, xylem and phloem. They are situated with xylem and phloem. Now, complex tissue. Permanent tissues composed of more than one type of cell is called complex tissue. When permanent tissue is composed of more than one type of tissue, it is called complex tissue. Complex tissue conducts water, minerals, and prepared food, and this is why they are also called conducting tissue. They can be grouped into two types, xylem and phloem. Now, xylem. What is xylem? There are two types of xylem, primary and secondary. Xylem developed during primary growth from the procambium is called primary xylem. So, what is called primary xylem? Xylem developed during primary growth from the procambium, it is called primary xylem. Secondary xylem is the xylem grown during secondary growth from the vascular cambrium. Primary xylem is of two types, protoxylem and metaxylem. At the primary stage, it is called protoxylem, and after maturity, it is called metaxylem. Metaxylem develops after the protoxylem but before secondary growth. Protoxylem is dignified by narrower vessels developed from the smaller cells. Metaxylem cells are usually larger. We know that metaxylem cells are larger. Tracheic vessels, xylem parenchyma and xylem fiber are the constituents of xylem. So, what is the elements of the xylem? The elements of the xylems are vessel, xylem parenchyma, xylem fiber, and trachea. They are the constituent of xylem. Trachea. Trachea are elongated cell. You can see the picture of a trachea here. And this is the xylem fiber. It is elongated, and here you can see the picture of a trachea. Trachea are elongated cell with slender and sharp ends. Their ends are very sharp. After lignified, their lumen may become narrower, and in that case transportation of water occurs mainly through the lateral paired pits on their walls. That means their water transmitted in the pits on their walls. Thickening of wall is of different type, such as epithelial, spiral, scleriform, reticulate, and pitted. Tracheates are found in firm and gymnosperm and also present in the primary and secondary xylem of angiosperm. Their main function is to conduction of cell sap and to provide the organs with proper rigidity. Sometimes they also store food. Now, vessels. Vessels are short, tubular in structure. You can see the picture of a vessel in here and are connected from end to end. They are connected from end to end. Vessel cells develop a long tube when their terminal walls are dissolved. This is how a narrow continuous channel is developed for the upward movement of the cell. In their early stages of development, the cells are filled with protoplasm. Eventually, they die by losing protoplasm with the process of their growth. Vessel walls also become differently thickened like trachea, such as scleriform, spiral, epithelial, pitted, etc. Their main function is to transport water and minerals and to provide the organs with proper rigidity. Now, xylem parenchyma. The parenchyma cells in the xylem are called xylem parenchyma or wood parenchyma. Another name of xylem parenchyma is wood parenchyma. Their walls may be thick or thin and their main functions are to storage of food and transportation of water. Now, xylem fiber. The sclerenchyma cells in the xylem are called xylem fiber or wood fiber. The ends of these type of cells are tapered. Mature cells do not contain protoplasm and so become dead. Transportation of water and minerals, storage of the food and giving mechanical support and strength to plant are their main function. Now, phloem. The phloem tissue organizes the vascular bundle is associated with the xylem. The xylem transport water as narrow material of food and the phloem conducts food produced in the leaves to the different parts of the plant. So, what is the main function of the xylem? Xylem take water, minerals and other things from the root to the leaves and other parts of the from the leaves and the places where plants produce their food, and the function of phloem is to take the produced food to the different parts of the plant's body. Phloem take the produced food to the different parts of the plant body. Now, sieve cell. There are special type of cells. This type of tissue is composed of phloem tissue is composed of sieve tube, companion cell, phloem parenchyma and phloem fiber. Xylem fiber is xylem fiber and phloem. Here, phloem tissue is composed of sieve tube, companion cell, phloem parenchyma and phloem fiber. Sieve cell. These are special types of cell. Sieve cells are arranged into and make a tubular structure called the sieve tube. You can see the picture of a sieve tube in here. Here it is a sieve plate, sieve tube, companion cell and phloem parenchyma. The cells are separated from each other with a sieve-like plate called the sieve plate. The protoplasm in a sieve cell is closer to the wall so that a hollow lumen is developed for the conduction of the food. Mature sieve cells do not contain nucleus and their main function is to conduct food produced in the leaves to the different parts of the plant. Now, companion cell. A parenchyma cell is found along with each sieve cell and its nucleus is much larger. You can see here a companion cell. Here is the companion cell. Its nucleus is much larger. It is assumed that the nucleus of a companion cell controls some activities of the neighboring sieve cell. Now, phloem parenchyma. The parenchyma cell is phloem are called phloem parenchyma. These types of cells are thin walled and have protoplasm like other parenchyma cells. They help store and conduct food. Now, phloem fiber. Phloem fibers are sclerenchyma cells. Their long cells are arranged end to end with other. They are also called bast fiber. Another name of phloem fiber is bast fiber. Pits are present on the walls of these cells. Through the phloem tissue, food produced in the leaves and stored in roots are simultaneously conducted up and down. Now, animal tissue. In mature animals, many cells together may be involved in a special function. Arising from the same membranic cell, when one or more than one type of cells remain in a particular part of animal body and collectively perform a common function, it is called tissue. So, what is tissue? Tissue means the same type of cells, when they originate from one place and do same type of work, they are called tissue. That is to say, cells of a particular tissue are similar as to their origin, function and structure. The study of the different types of tissue is called histology. What is histology? Histology means the study of different types of tissue. The differences between tissues and cell are specific. Cell is the structural and functional unit of tissue. For example, red blood corpuscles, white blood corpuscles, platelets and different types of cells. These are called connective tissues. The liquid connective tissue takes part in different physiological process. In the human body, there are different types of cells which are engaged in different activities. For example, nerve cells spread within the human body and form a network. These cells receive stimuli and send it to the brain and send off impulses from the brain back to the specific organ. Nerve cells is in the ear and eye help in vision and hearing. Due to the lack of different kinds of nerve cells, most animals cannot differentiate the exact color of the object, unlike humans. Many animals can also see only at daytime or nighttime. Now, muscles are used in all kinds of activities. For example, writing, walking and movement. 3 kinds of blood cells are engaged in different activities. Red blood corpuscles absorb oxygen from the lungs and transport oxygen from the heart to different cells of the body through the arteries and capillaries. White blood corpuscles prevent diseases. Platelets are responsible for starting the process of blood clotting and hair growth from the integumentary cells of the head. Sweat is secreted from the sweat glands. Bone cells constitute bones with depositing of minerals or cartilage, which makes a structure and support of the body. Now, type of the animal tissue. Animal tissues are mainly 3 types. Epithelial tissue. Now, we discuss about the epithelial tissue. These tissues functions as the lignin of various organs. But the function of this tissue is not only to provide cover of the organ. Epithelial tissue cover our body and our organs. There are more functions: protection of underlying tissues, secretion of waste products including protein, absorption of water and nutrition, transcellular transport of specific materials. The cell of the epithelial tissue lie closely or side by side on a base membrane. Based on the size of the cell, the location in the animal body and the nature of the work, these tissues are of 3 types. Squamous epithelial tissue. Epithelial tissue are of 3 types. Squamous epithelial tissue. Cells of these tissues are flat like scales. That means we found scales in fish, and the nucleus is large. Example, wall of the Bowman's capsule of the kidney. Besides providing cover, it is mainly active in filtration. That means this squamous epithelial tissue active in the filtration. Now, number 2, cuboidal epithelial tissue. Cells of these tissues are cuboidal. You can see the cuboidal epithelial tissue in here. The length, width and height of the cells are nearly equal. Example, collecting tubules of the kidney, mainly active in transportation and covering. Now, columnar epithelial tissue. Cells of these tissues are narrow and elongated like a column. An example of these tissues we found in here. Internal wall of intestine of vertebrates, mainly active in secretion, protection and absorption. Here is the epithelial, columnar epithelial tissue and cuboidal epithelial tissue and squamous epithelial tissue. There is the figure. Now, simple epithelial tissue. On the base, membrane cells are arranged in a single layer. Example, Bowman's capsule of the kidney. Number 2, stratified epithelial tissue. Cells are arranged on the basement membrane in more than one layer. There are some stratified epithelial tissue, the layer of which can change in minutes. 3 or 4 layers can turn into 7 or 8 layers in a moment. That is why it is often called transitional epithelial tissue. Example, integument of vertebrate animals. Now, pseudo-stratified epithelial tissue. You can see the figure of the pseudo stratified epithelial tissue, stratified epithelial tissue. Cells of these tissues are arranged in a single layer or basement membrane. The cells are not all of the same height, so this tissue is stratified. Now, their example is trachea. The cells of epithelial tissues are transferred for different functions such as ciliated epithelial tissue, flagellated epithelial tissue, pseudophile epithelial tissue, reproductive tissue, glandular tissue. Number 2, connective tissue. connective tissue has more matrix compound to the number of the cells in comparatively less. Based on structure and function, connective tissues is mainly of three types: fibrous connective tissue, number 2 skeletal connective tissue, and number 3 fluid connective tissue. Now we discuss fibrous connective tissue. This type of connective tissue lies below the body integument and sparsely in muscles. In the matrix, different types of fibers are visible. Now, skeletal connective tissue, the internal structure tissue of the body is called the skeletal tissue. The skeletal tissue forms the skeletal system or the internal structure of the body, gives the body definite shape and firmness, helps in organ movements and locomotion, protect the soft and sensitive organs of the body, the brain, spinal cord, lungs, heart, etc., produces various types of blood capsules and the forms of surface for the attachment of the voluntary muscles. Now, cartilage. Depending on the formation, skeletal tissue of two types, cartilage and bone. You can read this cartilage and bone and you can understand easily. Now, fluid connective tissue. The matrix of the fluid connective tissue is liquid and mobile. Different kind of organic colloids are soluble in the matrix. The main function of the vascular tissue is to maintain circulation in the interior of the body, and it plays a special role in protection from diseases and blood clotting. Fluid connective tissue is of two types. One is blood and another one is lymph. Blood is a type of alkaline, slightly saline, red liquid connective tissue. Following through the arteries, veins and capillaries, blood takes part in internal circulation. In warm blooded animal, it maintains body temperature balance. Blood is formed of two components, plasma and blood cells or blood corpuscles. Plasma is the liquid part of the blood. It is yellowish in color. It contains 91 to 92% water and 8 to 90% organic or inorganic materials. The organic substances included various types of blood, protein and waste materials in blood. The organic substances included various types of blood, protein and waste materials. Blood cells are of three types: red blood corpuscles or erythrocyte, white blood corpuscles or leukocyte, and platelets or thrombocyte. Red blood corpuscles contain an iron compound called hemoglobin. The red color of blood is due to the presence of hemoglobin. Hemoglobin easily mixes with oxygen to form the oxyhemoglobin compound, which carries oxygen to the different parts of the body. And leukocytes destroy harmful microorganisms and protect the body against diseases, and there are various kinds of white blood cells in human body, and thrombocytes takes part in blood coagulation or blood clotting. Now, lymph, a yellow colored and slightly alkaline liquid stored within the intercellular space of the human body is called lymph. This is collected by small dust and forms an independent system, and it is called the lymphatic system. My dear students, I hope you understand our today's class, and your homework for the next week is you will find out 10 MCQ from this chapter and also write the answer, and your homework number is 3. My dear student, you read this chapter attentively and try to underline MCQ from this chapter. This chapter is very important for your MCQ question. I hope you can do this at your home. Till then, keep well. Assalamu alaikum.